All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Susan Jane, who is the Intuitist. Susan, how you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Of course, thanks for coming on the show, and we like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Oh, what I like to do for fun. Hang on. First, do the proper stuff first. Hey, so my name is Susan Jane. Yeah, I got to do it the right way around. My name is Susan Jane, I do call myself the Intuitist. Now, the mentalist is somebody that deals with your thoughts and your thinking, but the deals with your feelings and your impressions. So that's where I look a little bit differently. And when we start to look at emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. That's what we're putting outwards externally, but our feelings are what we feel internally. So as we feel them, we can actually create different emotions and express them in different ways, which aren't always true to who we are. But I've really gone off tangent. So I'm Susan Jane. I survived a 20-year emotionally abusive relationship. And then at the ripe young age of 48, I went back to uni and studied uni full time. Now, 6 months after my uni degree finished and I was ready to take on the world, the jobs that I actually applied or I did the uni course on were a government changed hands and made them null and void. So for the 3 years when I left a manager in my business, I rented my home out to renters, and I moved, almost a half a state away. I had nothing. I had 3 years of a uni degree and nothing to go with. So that's when I started writing my book. I thought I needed to use the skills that I'd learned at uni. I needed to use them. And so I started writing my book, and my book is called Intuitive Flowers. It's now published. It's called Intuitive Flowers, and it's how you can connect with your intuition by doing flower readings, seeing what the flower means, how it's presented, and understanding how our emotions are attracted to those. So Intuitive Flowers is all about our emotional goals, not our smart goals.
I like that. Emotional goals instead of smart goals. And you said, tell me the process again. Did you say you look at a flower? What was it?
Oh, okay. So when you're doing flower readings, what you have to do is you have to get the feeling for it. Okay, so you've got a goal. So flowers are our goals in life. So we have a goal, and say your goal is you want to make your podcast really successful. You want to be out there. You want to be doing things. What you have to do is get that feeling, not how you're going to do it, but how you want to feel when you achieve it. Because often when we do the SMART goals, we go, I want to lose weight by doing this at such and such a time. And we go through that real analytical aspect of it. And often we'll get to those goals, but we don't have the feeling attached to it. So we can feel quite deflated and think, well, I've achieved my goal, but I don't feel how I want to feel. So with the emotional goals, we start to go, okay, so I want to be so famous in my podcast and I want to be out there and I want to do this. And it's how you feel. So you start to get that feeling towards it. And then you go, okay, how does that feeling look like in a flower image? Now, straight away, you've got a flower image in your head. I know you've got one, Timothy. And that's when you go, okay, I want you to Google that flower image. Now, a lot of the times when I wrote the book, I have to test the theory. I'm a real theory tester. So I had to test the theory, and I went, okay, this is what I want the business to look like. And I got the feeling and everything else. And the flower that came through for me, all I could see it was round and it was dark pink and white. So a deep pink and a light white. Now, I couldn't tell you what flower it was. I had no idea. All I could see was the shape and the color. So naturally, I got onto Google and I went pink and white flowers and looked at the images. Now you can imagine how many millions of images of pink and white flowers. So I started to scroll through and get an understanding of what it was like. And every now and then I'd see a flower and go, oh, that's sort of like it. The analytical brain jumping in, that's sort of like it. So I'd save that image. There's another one, save that image. Anyway, I came down to this particular image. Now, straight away with this image, I got the feeling. It wasn't, that's what it looks like. It was like, oh, I got the feeling. This is how I feel. So this is what my intuition was sort of saying to me. So I got the picture, I saved the picture and went, yep, that's definitely it. And then because I know how to do flower readings, I changed it. I went from a landscape image to a square image. As soon as I did that, I lost the feeling.
Mm.
So I had to go back to a landscape. Now, I didn't want to go to a landscape because I knew what that meant. So back to the landscape. And then I did a reading on it. Like I said, I tested my own theory. I wanted to make sure people could get an understanding of it. So as I've tested that, my big aha moment was when I looked at this image, the image had a little tiny flower, which meant my goal wasn't really that important. But what it did have is had these beautiful big round leaves because it was a water lily. So
Mm.
these beautiful big round leaves are our guides. Leaves are our helpers there. Excuse my voice. It's starting to go. So leaves are our guides. I've looked at it straight away and gone, for me to make my business successful, I need to work with women, whether it's physical women because the image, the leaves were at the bottom of the page, or whether it's spiritual women because the leaves were at the top of the page as well. They were also in the past and they were also in the present. I had these big round guided leaves all the way around me. And the only way my business was going to be successful, or where I wanted to be so I could feel happiness, was to be surrounded by women. And that was my big aha moment because I was so independent and such a I can do it myself, thank you very much person, that I actually had to allow women into my space and start to work with them and work in that sort of context. So did I answer your question, Timmy? I don't know if I answered your
You did.
question.
You did. It was about the process of flower readings. Is that what they are?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So when you look at the flower readings, you've got stems, which are your path or your journey to get to the goal. Your leaves are your guides. You have the flowers, the actual petals are your attraction. So if it's a business goal, that's what you look at for marketing.
Yeah.
So we look at the petals and the heart center, and then there's lots of other areas. There's the shapes, there's colors, there's the format. So there's 16 elements in a flower image that we look at.
I love that.
So what flower image did you come with, Timmy? What did you have?
I mean, I just had a rose.
Yeah. What color?
It was like dark red.
Yep. And was it fully open or was it a bud?
When you mean fully open, it was like a fully formed rose. Like it was like the rose wasn't open per se, but it was formed, you know?
So it was in bud form?
Yes.
Yes, it all means lots of different things. And it was a single rose, not
It was a
a
single
flower.
rose.
Yeah. So there's all those sorts of things. We can look at relationships if it's a bush of flowers, if it's a field of flowers, it all means different things.
Yeah.
So, and it shows you what your intuition is trying to tell you because you've picked that flower intuitively. And even just for you to say that type of flower, for you to find the picture of it, we if it's a single rose in a bud form, it could be on its angle, it could be looking straight at you. It's all these different ways we can take a picture of a red rose. You have to decide which one resonates with you, and that's how you get your reading. That's how you know it's your intuition kicking in.
I love that. I love that. Well, tell us a bit more about your motivation. What really, oh, we skipped fun. I don't think we talked about
Oh,
fun.
we skipped fun. Sorry. Oh, okay, fun. I'm a little bit of an introvert, so my fun tends to be more quiet, on the quieter side. So I love walking in nature, and I guess you might not call that fun, but I just call that inspiring and just awesome. And the other thing I do is I do painting. I've taken up painting, and with that, I actually now do paint workshops, intuitive painting workshops. So that is fun watching the ladies just get their aha moments because basically they paint a flower and we do readings on it. So they get this double whammy. It's really quite fun. So yes, I enjoy working with people in that context. But other than that, I'm a little bit of a loner. I like to have my own space, and that's how I create my own fun.
I love it. I love it. Walking in nature and painting. And tell us a bit more
Mm.
about your motivation. What gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Well, actually, walking does. I usually get up and go walking every morning. Funnily enough, this week I haven't because of this head cold and the jet lag from. I've just been to the UK with my dad, my 92-year-old dad, and I went to the UK for 4 weeks. So I had a bit of jet lag last week, and then I've got a head cold this week. But and this is the first week. Even my dad, every morning when we're in the UK, we'd go for a walk. So that's what gets me up and motivated. But when you're working with people to see them get their aha moments, to see them respond in different ways, it is motivating in the business side of it. But just for me, if you put, do you want to go for a walk in the morning? Yep, I'm there.
There we go. There we go. And now we're going to jump into the meat of the show,
Ooh,
dreams and goals. Tell us about your vision for your company and your life.
Wow. Well, they sort of interact actually, because I'm one of those very lucky people that I'm basically living my dream. I am working on my business, and my business is part of my goals. So my goal is I want to be a public speaker. Not how I'm sounding at the moment, because this is definitely not public speaking voice at the moment. But I love doing public speaking. And it's really strange because an introvert doesn't usually like being out there. But when I'm talking about my passion and intuition and motivating people and inspiring people to really listen to those messages that are coming from inside, I find that really, really motivating. I find that really inspiring, and that's sort of where I want to go. So my actual goal is I'd love to be able to travel. I want to do an American trip. I want to start at one end, and I have no idea which end that is, but I want to do workshops and talks all the way around America and in through the center and around the corner, and going on. I'd love to just get the UV. Is it what? No, is it a UV? Is that what you call them? The buses? What
Um,
are
I'm not
the
sure.
caravans, or we call them caravans or motorhomes?
Mobile
What
home.
are they?
Mobile homes? RVs.
Motorhomes?
RV.
RVs. That's it, not UVs. Sorry. I'd love to get an RV and just do that, trip around America, do the UK, and do some traveling like that. And of course, Australia, because as you can tell, I'm from Australia with this strange accent, which I don't feel like I've got. But that's what we want to do. So definitely doing around Australia, and hopefully doing these talks and these workshops as we go along.
I love it. I love it. So be a public speaker, and specifically workshops and talks all throughout America, Australia, and you said the UK as well?
UK, yeah, I'd love to, yeah.
There we go. Any other dreams or goals that you want to chat about? Usually people have like some career goals, some travel goals. So curious if you kind of hit both of those. So curious if you have
Yes.
some other ones that you want to mention.
Yes, I want to get better at my painting. I do
Mm,
want to do you know what, actually, when I think about it, because like I said, I've just had 4 weeks away. So when we first connected, you asked me about the goals and the dreams in the emails that we sent backwards and forwards. And I've had a look at them this morning. And you know what? I've seen that there's areas there that actually I'd like to change now. And one of them was in the goals and the dreams, because I've always had these goals and dreams to do the traveling and to do that and do the talking. And everything's been targeted around those sort of goals. But coming back after being away with my father, my 92-year-old father, my goals and dreams have changed a little bit. And my next sort of step or goal that I want to do is to reassess my life and have a look at what really is important in it and where I do want to go. Because I work part-time as a digital marketer, and then I work the rest of the time on my business. And I have to be honest, I'm putting a lot more hours in this, especially with podcasts and everything else. I'm putting a lot more hours in this for what I'm getting back. And it's not necessarily an equal exchange when you're first starting a business. I know that. However, it needs to be an equal exchange on your work and life. And I don't feel my life has had that equal exchange at this particular stage. So for my next goal, it's about just reassessing where I'm at, because of coming home, not being well, now got a head cold. It, to me, intuitively, there's things there that I don't want to slip back into what I did before I went away for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I want to reassess it. So that's my immediate goal, is reassessing my life and what is really important and what I can let go.
I got you. I got you. Reassess your life and what you can let go of. Are there any things that come to mind right now that you can let go of?
Yes, excuse me, a lot of social media stuff.
Mm,
We get caught up in it, and I know I do. I did. Social media has helped me a lot with my business, but it's getting that nice balance in it, and getting better connections in it.
yeah.
But it's hard because we use social media as part of our marketing, as our marketing tool for our businesses. So you're interacting all the time with it. So I guess that's where I sort of go. In the evening, I finish doing all the work and creating online courses, and I'm doing podcasts and doing this and doing that. And then at the end of the day, I sort of sit there and I have dinner, and then I might be on social media and I'm going, why am I doing this? If I'm doing this because I want to, I'm enjoying seeing what my friends are doing, that's great. But if I'm doing this because I'm working still and having to put up posts and I have to do this and I have to do a reel and I have to do that, then I'm putting too much time into work and not enough time into life.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. Do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
No, but the name rings a bell for some reason.
Yeah, he's kind of blowing up in the entrepreneur space of like he just provides so much value in his book and his YouTube channel. Like the man is just a beast. And so you should look him up. But he posted a video today actually, and he was talking about hard work versus like um what we should actually be measuring. And so a lot of entrepreneurs pride themselves on I work hard, I work hard, I work hard, which sounds like something you may not have prided yourself on it 4 weeks ago, but it may have been the reality of your life where you were working really hard, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And same here. Like same for a lot of people who are like getting their business started, right?
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy talked a lot about employing leverage into the daily activities that you're doing so that
Yes.
it's like same energy input for much better output. And so
Yes.
something I was trying to think about it earlier today because one of the things I'm doing, I just cold call for. And it's like one cold call equals one potential lead equals one potential sale, all that good stuff. But I'm like, how can I employ leverage here? And so just something to think about of like how you can
Mm.
leverage your activities so you still get the results you want with maybe less energy input, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah. And funnily enough, as soon as I came back, I was talking with another lady that I work a lot with, and we were looking at a VA, and
Oh,
we're sort of
yep.
going, we need to get rid of that, not get rid of that. We need to assess our lives, assess our businesses. What can we let go? What can we put out as a VA? How do we do that? What does it look like? So yeah, there were the sort of things that I'm looking at. And I feel like with people like entrepreneurs, we have so much to be able to give. And I love giving. I love doing all that. But we have to make sure we're looking after ourselves at the same time. And often we can not do that. And yeah, and for me, because mine's all about intuition and listening to ourselves, as soon as I get a head cold, as soon as I get something like that, I know, and in my health aspect, I know that that's my intuition going, hey, there's something you've got to look at, there's something you've got to change. If you keep going this way, this is down the wrong path. So I get those lovely barriers. I see the health issues, the situations like that. Those what people will often call blockages, I see them as positives
Yeah.
because it's stopping me from going down that path. Now, whatever that path is, you've got to work that out. But it's stopping me from doing that. And it's like, okay, cool. Let me look at something else. What else can I do? What else? And that's what I'm getting lately. It's since coming back from the UK, it's been look at your life in a whole, because you've been focusing on this and you've been focusing on this and you've been focusing on this. Look at it as a whole, because it's not balanced at all.
Yeah.
So that's what that's my goal. Oh, I went off tangent again. Sorry.
All good. All good. Well, if there are one or two people that you could meet right now, and this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you take the next step towards these dreams and goals, who would that person be and how would they help you?
Now, you had this in one of your questions, and this one really stumped me, because again, as I go back and I sort of go to myself, I've been such an independent person, and I don't like, because of this, I had that 20-year emotionally abusive relationship. It put me off of trusting or even expecting anyone else to help me. It was all about me having to do it myself. So I've been a very, very independent person. And when you ask that question, I really struggle with it, because I'm not one to follow a lot of people on social media. I don't do that. I'm not one to have many people that I look up to. And yet, when I was going through my spiritual journey, there was a lot of people like Shakti Kwan, who did creative visualization, Wayne Dyer, and Esther Hicks. So there was a lot of these names that I could, banter around and say, I would really like them. Would I like their lifestyle? Would I like the way they're going? I have to question that and go, maybe not. But the first thing that came to mind was, I'd love to get more experience about holding interviews. And I guess the best person for that would be Oprah. That's the only one I could sort of go to. I liked her style of interview, and I liked that side of it. So that would be my go-to.
There we go. I love it. And what are the most important one or two things that everyday people can do to really help you accomplish your dreams and goals? So you meet Sally at the grocery store, and Sally's
Yeah.
like, Susan, what can I do to help you out? What would you tell her?
Oh, well, if it's something that is nice and simple, it would be, to follow my podcast, to like and share, like that sort of stuff. However, what I would love them to do would be to join up into one of my workshops, because then I can see eye to eye and I can watch them have their aha moments. I can watch them grow and develop and move forward in a real positive way. So that would be my definitely my speciality.
Awesome. I love it. And before we move on, next up is the Thriving Three. I have a couple more things I want to ask about.
Mm,
Um, in the beginning, you said that emotions are energy in motion.
yes.
I really like that you said that. And then you said feelings are inward. And you
Yeah.
said this is why we can have a feeling and then express it outwardly as a different emotion. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And I really like that you said that, because Napoleon Hill talks about sexual transmutation in his
Yeah.
book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And I read that the first time and I was like, that's a bunch of hoopla. Like, I have no idea what this man is talking about. There's no way you can take this stuff that you're feeling and redirect it somewhere else and like put that energy elsewhere. And he was like, no, this is some of the most potent energy that you have, some of the most potent feelings that you have. Take it,
Absolutely.
redirect it towards business and stuff. I thought it was hoopla. But then I heard other successful business people talking about how they do it. I was like, okay, one successful person said that it's a thing in like a book. And now many successful people are saying it's a thing. And now you come on the podcast and you say it's a thing. So for those people who are like me, who are like, that's a bunch of hoopla, and are still wondering how exactly to do that, what would you say?
Oh, it takes a bit of practice. Okay. So all right, let me give you an example. You might be feeling a bit angry. Like, say somebody has cut you off on the road, and you get a little bit of road rage happening there. So you're getting really angry. Now, what that normally means is that there's something that has triggered, there's a feeling that has been triggered, and that feeling that has been triggered is going to come out in a particular way. And we often have that in childhood. So it'll come out in a particular way. So when you've been cut off, in say traffic, you might feel like that person that has just come into your space, or they've not been respectful, or they've not given way, or they've not taken me into consideration when they've cut me off. So it's all those, I've just sort of said 4 different feelings that it could be. They're the feelings, but how has it come out? It's come out as road rage, angry, oh, you idiot, blah, 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 point your finger. So you're bringing it out in a different way. But what was the trigger that created that? Why? You got angry. I'm not saying you, sorry, Timmy, but you get angry because someone's cut you off. But the feeling could be that they've been disrespectful to you. They've been and that could be from a childhood memory where somebody was disrespectful to you as a child and didn't take on board you being in that place. It could have been your sister shoved you out of the way because you were sitting in the best chair in the house, and she shoved you out of the way, and you feel, that's really disrespectful because I was sitting there first and you've not taken my feelings into consideration. So that may have happened as a child. Then all of a sudden it comes out as road rage as an adult. Does that clarify the understanding of what I'm saying?
It does. It really does. And what I think is really interesting about that is that it's almost like you're already doing emotional transmutation when you experience that anger through road rage.
Yes.
And you've just learned how to do it in the form of anger. And so I guess the question is, which is why I like how you said it takes practice, because you said, like, we practiced being angry. Like, we learned how to be angry. Like, we didn't, that initial emotion, like, specifically in my life, I remember me being sad a lot. And then I used to cry. And that used to be my kind of
release.
Yes, my release.
Yeah.
I got basically punished for crying. It was negatively reinforced. I had to learn how to not cry. And then I was like, well, how can I express my anger? Or how can I express my emotion? Look at that. It's just linked in my head. How can I express my emotion? Anger on the football field. And then football got taken away. And I was like, well, I can't just be angry in society and now I don't have an outlet for it. And so it's like, okay, well, now I can go to like working out or something. And so with the road rage, you've practiced being angry. You can also practice releasing those feelings in other ways, in more positive ways. Does that track?
So yes. So what you're doing now is, if we go back to the road rage type thing, when someone cuts in on you and you're driving, instead of going straight to anger, we have to go, well, hang on, why am I angry? I mean, you could turn around and say, well, he cut in on me, but why? And I think you do the 4 whys. But why are you angry that he cut in on you? Because he shouldn't do that. But why shouldn't he do that? There's a road there in front of him. He can go there too, because he didn't indicate, or he didn't give way. But why does that worry you? Well, they're the rules. You're supposed to go by the rules. Oh, okay. So we're looking at rules now. But why does he need to be? And you keep going back and back until you find out, and you sort of go, well, it's disrespectful for him just to push across in front of me. If he had put his indicator on, I would have slowed down and he could have come across and there wouldn't have been a problem. But to barge over is wrong. It didn't feel right for me. Okay, so now we've got an understanding of what the feeling is, not what the emotion is, that energy going out, that anger. Now we've got a feeling of now we have an understanding of what the feeling is. Okay, so if somebody's being disrespectful to you, straight away you're going to get angry. No, if somebody's being disrespectful to you, that's not, are they doing that intentionally? You have to start to assess that. Are they doing it intentionally? What is it all about? If somebody's being disrespectful to them, why can't you turn around and say, please stop being disrespectful to me. I'm just as much human as you are, and I don't like that. And you take yourself away from it. That's when you're transmuting it. So instead of that anger coming through, you're starting to get an understanding of your feeling. Then when people become disrespectful, you can actually change that to a completely different way, and you can start to create this positive look to it. And this is where Napoleon Hill was saying, we start to look at a positive look to it. So we can go, he's being disrespectful. I'm going to show him what being disrespectful, that how good I am. And I'm going to, instead of get angry, I'm going to put that energy into showing you how good I am, putting it out there. And when you're talking about anger on the football field, it wasn't so much about anger. Anger may have started it, but it was also about determination. And it was the determination to prove that you can use that energy in a different way. So yes, instead of crying, you didn't need to use it that way. And even crying may not be the best way to release an energy, a feeling, but you can release it in a different emotion. And what you did then is created determination. I'm going to win this game. I'm going to beat it. I'm not going to kill him. I'm not angry like that, but I'm determined to do the best I can, the best way I can, and for the best team effort and personal effort. So you were actually already doing that. And when you're looking at, dealing with that, and you're going through, say, your bodybuilding or weights or exercise, you have just transmuting it from a negative, getting shitty and using abuse and everything else, to a positive, looking after yourself, building up your body. Every time you do that exercise, you're also doing other areas to your body, because mentally you're sort of going, I'm looking after myself. I don't want to eat that chocolate. I'm going to eat that ice cream instead. That's right. I'm going to eat that orange instead. So you're doing it in more ways, in lots of different levels as well. But you've done that. You've transmuted already in that context, in that story that you gave.
I love that. I love that. And so it's really the ability to feel it, and then awareness of the feeling, not an immediate reaction, but awareness of the feeling. And then from that awareness, choosing to do a different action that will release that emotion.
Yes. You release that feeling. Yes.
Release
Yes.
that feeling, yes, in an emotion.
Yes.
That is so interesting. So then I guess the question is, how do you know what positive action is right to release that feeling as an emotion? Because like for me, it may be lifting weights, but for example, if I'm like, I'm feeling really angry, so I'm gonna go cold call. That might make me more angry because I don't like cold calling.
That's exactly right. Okay. So when we look at a scale from positive to negative, we know that there's lots of them in between. So you can't go from angry, yelling, screaming abuse to, oh, hi, darling, how are you? Yeah, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
So you have to pick those levels and take you up the scale. And there's like an emotional scale that we have: joy, happiness right at the top, anger, depression, down the bottom, fear down the bottom too. So there's this emotional scale we can go on. So when you want to go, and I mean, at the moment, I'm sort of feeling we've got somebody else in the house at the moment. They're not doing anything. They're not contributing in any way. We feel like we're being sort of leeched on, and it's making me angry. And I've been going through this for the last couple of days, and it's like, I've got to change the way I feel about it. But I can't change the emotion. I have to change the feeling. I have to change the way I feel about it, not the emotion that I'm putting out. And if I change the way I feel about it, the trajectory of that emotion is going to change too. So, but of course, I'm angry at the moment. I'm not going to get to, oh, I'm really glad you're here, straight up. I'm going to get to, okay, I'm dealing with it. I'm tolerating it. Okay, it's not so bad, it's getting better. Okay. And you allow that to change. So when you're looking at what to do, you need to do something that still is according to you, so you can release that energy, release that feeling, but it doesn't have to be,
perfection.
Yeah, to the extreme. Yeah, like you say, if you're angry and you're pushing weights, that's a good way to get through it, because you're concentrating on the weights, you're concentrating on your body, you've got your stance right, you've got your action happening properly. You might be in front of a mirror watching to make sure you do it all correctly. You're taking your mind completely away from anger, but you've still got that really strong, because anger is such a stronger emotion, you need to have a stronger action to go with it. A run, something really quite physical, will help a emotion like anger. If something's like just more, well, that's a bit annoying, you might just be able to start doing a little bit of writing, or a little bit of drawing, or a little bit of something lighter
Breathing.
that doesn't, yeah, that's maybe more creative, something lighter. So the easier the emotions are, frustration, that might be just about, okay, I'll just go and cook a cake, or I'll just draw a picture or something. It doesn't need to be as extreme, but an emotion like anger, you need to put something stronger into it. So weightlifting's great, running is really good. You often see them in the movies and they're skipping and skipping and skipping and skipping. It's allowing them to release that sort of a feeling. But releasing it is one thing, assessing it is the other. You still got to get an understanding of what triggered that feeling, because that's what you've got to get control over.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And when you figure out that trigger, is it a matter of avoiding that trigger, changing what trigger is happening in your life so you're more positive on the emotional side? Like, what do you do once you understand the trigger?
Once you understand the trigger, it's quite strange. Once you understand the trigger, it doesn't seem to trigger as much. And when it does trigger, you go, oh, I'm triggered because of that. I'm triggered because I feel disrespected. Okay, what can I do with that now? I can either leave that area. If they don't respect me, I can leave that situation or move away or something to that effect. Or I go, you know what? I feel disrespected, but are they really being disrespectful?
Yeah.
Am I just taking that on board? Am I just seeing that as a trigger? And I can have that choice then of going, you know what? They're not really being disrespectful, but they don't understand. They don't understand what their behavior is doing and how I'm responding to it. So it's not really their fault. Okay, get a deal with it. They're not being disrespectful. Don't let it trigger you. Okay, let's move on. Let's find something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's when you get the understanding, you have control then. And that's what's so beautiful. If somebody cuts you off in traffic and you go straight to anger, you have lost control. Somebody cuts you off in traffic and you go, oh, they're being disrespectful. Oh, maybe they just didn't see me, because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
And every now and then you get this hand going, they say, sorry, mate, I didn't see you there. I didn't see you on the corner, and I pulled in front of you. And I've done that myself. I've gone, oh, I didn't see that car there.
Yeah.
So was I being disrespectful? No, I wasn't. Did they take that on board as being disrespectful? Absolutely, because I got the finger and everything.
I love it. Well, this was very helpful, and it clarified the emotions, our energy and motion, and feelings are inward, and we can transmute our feelings into certain emotions. That was extremely helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's my pleasure.
Awesome. Well, now we're going to jump into our thriving three. And the
Yes. I'm
first
not sure what that
question,
is.
it's just, I like to ask people questions based on, like, I think to thrive, it's based on information we take in, how we take care of ourselves, and then action steps that we take. That's what I think
Okay,
kind of
cool.
consists of thriving. So I ask questions based on that. And the first one
Yeah.
is, what's your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
I look, I have to go to a book, because books changed my life. We didn't have podcasts when I first started doing my journey, so I would have to say book. And the one that really captured me and really started me on my journey was, I remember being dumped outside the doctor's office and told to get something for it. Everyone told me I had postnatal depression. I didn't think I did. And I actually didn't. I was being emotionally abused that much that I didn't know what was going on. That's why I understand emotions. I was being abused that much that I didn't understand. So I went in. There was a new doctor in town, and and she said to me, "What's wrong with you?" And I get, "Oh, I don't know what's wrong with me." In tears, blubbering mess. She's writing notes out and everything else, and I sort of vomited all my crap all over her because of what I was going through at that particular stage. 3 kids in 3 years, didn't know what I was doing. So she said to me, okay, she held up 2 pieces of paper. One was a prescription for Valium. She said, this is a prescription, will help you with that. And the other was a list of books to read. And I sort of went, well, if I go onto Valium, it's really hard to get off of that stuff. That's just creating another problem. And I was a bit anti-drugs and stuff like that anyway. So I grabbed the list of books. Well, when my ex-husband saw the list of books, he was absolutely horrified because he wanted me on drugs, obviously. Maybe I'd be nicer. But one of the books was Creative Visualization by Jacques Diguan. And that was the book that really made me look at my life very, very differently and made me realize I have control over it. It did take me probably, I don't know, 8 years after that to get out of that relationship. But that was my first book. And that's why it sits so high in my heart.
Gotcha. I love it. I love it. And what is one way you like to take care of yourself?
Oh, walking. I love my
Walking.
walking.
Yep. Yep. And what is one action step you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to meet Oprah and learn how to hold interviews from her?
Oh, well, I am doing the Voice of Intuition podcast. So I am learning to do interviews. And I get a lot of positive feedback from my interviews. So I am happy with how it's going. But, there's nothing like getting polished up by somebody as important as Oprah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's, I feel like I am doing that and I will continue to do that. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Now we're going to jump into our last couple of questions.
Yep.
What is one limiting belief that continues to pop up in your life, if any?
I have a limiting belief because of the relationship that I was in. I have a limited belief that I am not good enough.
Mm.
And that one comes up and slaps me in the face quite often. And I have to do a lot of internal work to get through it. But it tends to come in peaks and troughs. And I feel like a lot of these limiting beliefs we have, they sort of run at levels. So we get through it at this level, and then at one level, and then we cruise along okay, and then all of a sudden something triggers it, and we have to take it up another level. And my not good enough or my self-worth is one of those limiting beliefs that I do sometimes struggle with. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Do you have any actions or emotions that you experience on the daily or from day to day, just it doesn't have to be every day, but every week, every month, that reinforce this limiting belief that you want to share?
Actually, I'm going to be honest. Wow, you're really sort of going a little bit deep here for me. It's social media.
Oh,
I get onto social media and I start seeing how other people are going. And look, and I know, I know on social media, I never put out the bad stuff, or once or twice I've put out something bad, but I always put out a positive flow, because I feel like there's enough negative in this world. We don't need to put it out there. We only put out positives. So on my social media, I put out a lot of positives. Oh, wow, this is airy fairy. Let's look at this. Wow, this is really cool. And I see other people's podcast, their social media, and they're of course doing the same, because a lot of them are entrepreneurial women that I'm linked with in the Facebook and in different social medias. So I look at theirs and I go, oh wow, they're doing so good. I'm not.
mm,
And so I have this real thing with social media, and maybe it's got to do with my age, because I'm not used to how to do it, but I get these real highs and lows, and social media will be my trigger for them.
mm. Yeah, yeah, no, I feel that. I think social media makes comparison
Yes.
especially easy because you see the best of people's lives without seeing any of the bad stuff, basically. So
Yes, it is. It's really challenging, and I do the same. Like I said, I'm not saying that they're at fault. It's me that's at fault because I'm comparing. But when you're having a not so good day, or you're feeling a bit heady like I am at the moment, and I can hear my voice echoing in my ears at the moment, you start to look at other people and think, oh wow, they've got it together. They've got it so together. Why haven't I?
Yeah.
And yet, yeah, and yet I look at it, I'm a published author, I'm a international business award winner, I run an international podcast. I mean, I can't get much more successful than I am, and yet you still get this little shades of doubt coming through. And yes, it's definitely social media that does the triggering for me.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing that. How can we reframe the limiting belief of you not being good enough to be an abundant belief? Like, what would you say to yourself? What would the abundant phrase be?
Oh wow. No, I'm not very good at this, am I? Okay. Abundant phrase is, I guess mine would be, I am perfect just the way I am.
Mm, I love that.
And I just have to believe that now, don't I?
Yeah, that's toughie. That's toughie.
Hey, look, when we don't, as much as I said about social media, I'm feeling down. Like, you've not got me at my best. I am feeling down because I've got this head cold happening. So yeah, you do get those little thoughts come in, those little things triggering. We're all human. So yeah, I can help do this, I can help do that, and my life's wonderful. But I still get sick sometimes. I still have to look at how I'm feeling and what's going on in my life, and I still have to make adjustments.
Yeah.
We all have to do that, and that's living the perfect life, is understanding when those adjustments need to be made, looking into them, and then taking that step forward to it.
Yeah.
So yes, I am perfect just the way I am, but I would like to get rid of this head cold.
There we go. There we go. And what actions would you take to reinforce this abundant belief? What actions, what feelings, and what thoughts would reinforce the abundant belief I am perfect just the way I am?
Well, actions to straight away, I have to go to meditation. I used to do a lot of meditation. I know I have let that go, and I've have this strong, intuitive journey. Like, I want to do more meditation, and so the action to be able to do that is to actually find that happy medium and create this. Oh shit, what I was going to say, to create a habit. Sorry, a habit. That's what I wanted to do. So when I was doing a lot of meditation, when I was doing my life coaching course, I had a set time when I would do meditation. I could do that. The kids were at school at that stage. I had a set time. It was like 2:30 in the afternoon. I'd give myself half an hour. The kids came home on the bus, so I could go longer if I wanted to, but I always gave myself that space. We owned a 90-acre organic crop farm at that stage. So we'd start early in the morning, and by lunchtime, late lunchtime, we'd be back in the house, in the farmhouse, have a shower, have some lunch, and then that was my time to do some meditation. In doing that, that behavior that I created allowed me to have this own space, own time, and straight away, as soon as I sat down, it was bang, straight into a meditation. Whereas if I try and meditate at the moment, because I haven't created that behavior, it takes a bit longer to sort of get into it. And then half an hour later, you sort of think, well, did I actually do anything?
Yep.
But the first thing I need to do is the behavior, and that's what I haven't set aside yet. So my action is definitely to set aside a time and a space to do the meditation, and then go in and start looking at my feelings, and start, when I do have a time when I'm triggered by social media or anything else, to have that space where I know I can go and straight away I can do in meditation and find out what's causing it, find out what's going on, and change it.
I love it. I love it. And we got one last question for you.
Okay, cool.
So there's a
Far away.
common saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yes.
I actually found out from Dr. Alan Leica. He was a guest on the show. When he said this, it completely just made me so happy.
Yeah.
You can make a horse drink. You just have to salt its oats. Now, I want you to think of a person with a really fixed mindset. They're not willing to accept help and they're not willing to accept change. How can we, you and I, create an environment that salts their oats so that we can help them change their life? We're not trying to change their life for them because we can't make that decision for them, but it's
No.
an environment to salt their oats.
Oh, okay. I look straight away. My thoughts go to you're manipulating the situation,
Mhm.
and it straight away comes to a negative. I get that negative feeling about it. So as far as salting their oats, I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't force a horse to drink. I would definitely lead it to water, but I wouldn't force it to drink. And to salt their oats to me is manipulating them. Um, and I see that because I'm a digital marketer. I see that a lot in marketing, whereas people are going, they're focusing on the negative side of marketing. So they're focusing on, you haven't got enough, this is a problem, you can't do that. And they focus on that negative side. Digital marketing or marketing nowadays is starting to change. And I'm saying this from my work. This is my work stuff.
Yeah.
Marketing's starting to change and people are starting to focus on the positive side. So as far as salting the oats go, I could see the positive side by living a life of positive example, um, practicing what I preach. It's no good for me to turn around and say, you got to do meditation and find out what's going on. And I'm sitting here with a head cold and not finding out what's going on. So it's about living that positive example. So if you wanted for me to class it as salting the oats, I would say it as live by example. And I try to look at the positive side of life and take that side of it forward. So I don't know whether that's what what you are looking for as far as an answer goes, but yeah, I just find that salting it, I just don't. And yet we use salt licks on the farm. We needed them for the cattle. We used to use salt licks. So I know what you're talking about. It's it just sort of, I did that for the benefit of the cow. So I suppose if he's salting the oats for the benefit of the horse, then it's a positive, isn't it?
It is. I was about to say, I feel like so I feel like every action, every thought, every word that we say, I feel like it has an impact on people. And
Yes.
there are words, thoughts, and actions that have a negative intent, and I feel like that's more manipulation. And then there's a positive intent, and that's more intentionality.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like um when I say salting the oats, I don't want it to be the negative. I want it to be the,
Yes.
hey, I'm positively trying to pull you towards something, but I'm not making you make this decision. But I do want to show you this is the life that you could have if you want it. And if you're
Yes.
a person who's complaining where you're at, I would like to show you where you could be. So
Yes. Yeah.
that's how
And
I
the
like to answer
crazy,
the question.
yeah, and the crazy thing is, Timmy is like when you say manipulation, straight away we look at it as a negative. Manipulation isn't a negative either.
Yeah,
It's just that word. It's that terminology, and like you say, words mean so much to us. But when we use that word manipulation, everyone goes, "It's negative." Well, is it?
yeah. I feel like
You know,
everything we do is kind of manipulating people. It's
and it's not always negative. If I turn around and say to you, do some meditation, I'm not manipulating you, but I am manipulating you. But it's a
exactly.
positive. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really funny. It's funny how you look at it, but yeah, I really get that. I guess my whole persona is, live the life you want other people to live as well, or live the life that you enjoy, so other people can see that you can enjoy life. And that's sort of where I look at. And I mean, I'm one of those. I'm a bugger. I've done lots of stuff. I'm not one of these people that stays in one job and stays there. I'm all over the place. Like, had a 90-acre organic crop farm for 8 years, and I used to love driving the tractor and getting out in the dirt and been in bands. I've done everything. It's great, and that's what you got. If something doesn't suit you here, change it. Do something else.
Yeah,
Easy.
absolutely. Well, Susan, I love it. That's all we got for you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Of course, of course. And if you guys are listening to this and you loved what Susan had to say, make sure to check her out. All the links to do so will be down in the show notes as we are switching up our outro. So thank you guys for coming on the show. We hope to see you next time. That's the new outro. And on that note, we're out.